Great Spirit, by your divine grace, I accept my losses, knowing that all I own is but a temporary loan to me. All that I possess is granted to me but for a time. Even my body, when it has served its purpose, will return to you. I give thanks, knowing that nothing is ever truly lost. It has only been transformed. I pray that my eyes will not be clouded by my grief. I pray that my heart remembers that after the darkest part of the night, dawn arise. I pray that my lips will not depart from declaring the truth, that all sorrows will pass. I pray that my soul remembers who I am. If I find myself at the brink of despair, help me to be steadfast in my convictions, so that I may be an example to those who lack courage. The trying of faith worketh patience. And so, now I rest in faith. Faith. Just a little reminder to please subscribe if you haven't subscribed already, and thank you for your support. This is a quote from Lao Tzu, Tao Te Ching. If you don't realize the source, you stumble in confusion and sorrow. When you realize where you come from, you naturally become tolerant, disinterested, amused, kind-hearted as a grandmother, dignified as a king. Immersed in the wonder of the Tao, you can deal with whatever life brings you, and when death comes, you are ready. I believe that most of us, if not all of us, by now, especially people who listen to this type of content, that we have all come to the understanding and agreement within ourselves that we are here to learn, to grow, to evolve, to transmute, to transcend. But nevertheless, we find it difficult at times to let go of our old ways, old patterns. Sometimes we don't even see it because we get caught up in our emotions. And of course, when that happens, we tend to project our shadows onto others, or we make mistakes in our calculations and in the way that we react or respond to certain situations. I do want to balance that statement by saying that intellect is not superior to emotion, that intelligence is superior to intellect and emotion. I'm sure you've heard it said that we are spirit having a human experience. But what is a human? A human is a convergence point of cosmic forces. A human is also an animal. A human is also etheric. A human is also spiritual. And a human is also ego and astral. So that's quite a lot to contend with. And even within each of those entities, they can also be broken down into different compartments. So a human is not a simple mechanism or a simple experience, or a human is incredibly complex. We are also consciousness, which no one, not the greatest philosophers or psychologists, none of them have been able to explain, or even neuroscientists or anyone has been able to explain what is consciousness. We are still puzzled trying to understand and figure what it is. Your sense of self, or the place where you identify from, can shift automatically or unconsciously. That means without your permission, without your knowing. And when it does that, depending on where it is, if your sense of identity is within your ego, then you're going to view the world in a very particular way. You're going to find that you have ideas about enemies, about, you being supreme or superior above others, or others being superior above you. So this is setting you up for fighting and battling and envy, jealousy, revenge, all those different things. If you are operating from a higher consciousness, from your spirit, then you might see everyone as your equal and that we are all one. If you are sufficiently conscious, you are able to partner with cosmic forces. However, if you are not conscious, which means that you are in your animal state, then the cosmic forces will work through you and upon you regardless. But your life will be more chaotic. Okay, so these are just some examples of why we perceive differently, why we behave differently. And it's just to say, cut yourself some slack. Refrain from persecuting yourself for not being perfect, and refrain from persecuting others for not being perfect. The scripture says, with the same measure ye mete, the same will be measured back to you. What this means is that these cosmic forces, otherwise or sometimes known as the gods, they will test you to see if you are as good as or as perfect as you expect others to be. Also, they will test you to see if you are true to your word, where sometimes we judge people who are rich. We judge people who are in certain situations, or, whatever it is. They have something we don't have, and we may condemn them for it. And we may imagine that if we had certain things that we would be different, So, but then we'll be given opportunity to see what we really are. Given those or similar circumstances, how would we behave? And it's us really then that's judging ourselves, because these cosmic forces are a part of our own psyche, if that makes sense. And so this is why the scripture says, judge not, lest ye be judged. And with the same measure ye mete, the same will be measured unto you. This is another quote from the Tao Te Ching, Lao Tzu. True perfection seems imperfect, yet it is perfectly itself. True fullness seems empty, yet it is fully present. True straightness seems crooked. True wisdom seems foolish. True art seems artless. The master allows things to happen. She shapes events as they come. She steps out of the way and let the Tao speak for itself. I used to suffer from anxiety, and of course, when you suffer from anxiety and neurosis that stems from trauma, and you have a bit of OCD in you, it can cause you to tamper with things in such a way where you are trying to have that thing perfect in a way that it doesn't disturb you. Now, this lesson was taught to me by my garden. So some years ago, when I started this garden, I couldn't stand the bite marks of the slugs and snails, the bite marks in the leaves that they would leave. And as I'm there contemplating, the garden said, "Your perfection is not my perfection. Your perfection is violent." And that's when I started to realize that in the pursuit for me having things the way that makes me feel comfortable, I was killing other creatures because we had put down slug repellent in the garden. Now, of course, it's been many years and we've never done that again. Like all other arrogant skeptics, I was the same. I was incredibly arrogant, and arrogance is usually a sign of lack of wisdom. So I didn't believe that nature had consciousness, and just like we were all taught to believe this thing. But when I started studying eco-psychology, which I thought was foolishness, but the reason I did it, the reason I actually went on to the course was because I had made a drawing. I was searching for something and I made a drawing. And then when I found eco-psychology, it was the same logo. And I was like, this is bizarre. So that's what made me take the course. And even though I thought it was a bunch of nonsense, I thought, well, this is a bit too strange that I drew the logo. So we did an activity. We were asked, there's many activities, but one of the activities I was asked to do, the following night, I woke up and there was a forest in my room. And that's when I realized this stuff is real. So I started to learn how to communicate better with nature. And this is how I'm able to attune to plants and various things. So, some people like to know details of how on earth does things talk to you. Everything is conscious. And eco-psychology is based on shamanism. I will end this video by saying that the more we try to cooperate as opposed to convert, is the more we will be able to harmonize with ourselves and with others, that none of us are perfect, and I don't think we're expected to be perfect, even though Christ says, "Be ye perfect as the Father is perfect." It's really Christ encouraging us to thrive towards perfection, otherwise known as excellence. But we are not to imagine that we are perfect whilst others are defective, because this is the ego. And also we mustn't believe that others are perfect whilst we are defective. We are all here on a learning journey, and none of us will get it right all the time. And so it requires us to love ourselves and to hold each other in love and light. So thank you so much for your time, and do subscribe, do like, do share. Help me to spread the word, or to be able to give encouragement or insights to anybody who wants it, And until next time, love, light.